This is hard. My name is Elle, and I burned through my savings of about $80,000. I burned through my entire 401k. I am 39 years old, and I am currently living in my boyfriend's parents' house, and I'm starting over. This is video number 1. I'm creating a YouTube channel on my personal finance journey from the bottom, hopefully all the way up to the top.
What's up, YouTube? My name is 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶 and welcome to my channel. On my channel, I like to discuss fitness, general health, and many other topics that may not be related to the first two, but are interesting enough that I can showcase lessons that many of us should appreciate and learn. For today's video, I'm going to be diving into the world of personal finance. I've been scouring YouTube and getting caught up watching all sorts of financial channels. Channels where people will come in, work with a professional who will give their take on their financial situation and help them come up with a strategy to get themselves out of it. Or also channels, such as the one we're going to be watching today, where people discuss their personal finances, the ugly truth behind it. They give some understanding as to why they're in the situation they're in, and hopefully they discuss how the hell they're going to get themselves out of it. So today's video is a woman that is around my age. She's like 38, 39 years old, so she's an older millennial, and she's gotten herself into quite the financial hole. But she's going to discuss why she's there, what she's done to get out of it, and then her game plan that she's currently on to rectify the situation. So keep watching and let me know if these financial videos are something that you want me to continue on, because I got some good ones in the hopper. And then also let me know if at any part some of the stuff she's talking about resonates with things that you potentially have done, because at some point or another we all have had less than stellar finances, myself included.
This is hard. My name is Elle, and I burned through my savings of about $80,000. I burned through my entire 401k. I am 39 years old, and I am currently living in my boyfriend's parents' house, and I'm starting over. This is video number 1. I'm creating a YouTube channel on my personal finance journey from the bottom, hopefully all the way up to the top. And the reason why I'm making these videos now and going forward is because I've watched tons and tons of videos and
I want to just stop right here. Since I've watched this video, I know where she's going to go with it, but pay attention because she brings up something that is very important. She talks about relatability, and that's something that is a reason that many of us choose to watch certain things or even choose not to. And while yes, you want to be able to relate to the content creator so that the subject, hits you right here in the heart and means something to you. But as you'll start to discover with her, the relatability that she's going for can be somewhat superficial. And that's not a judgment of her. It's just a human trait. So let's continue watching.
On personal finance journeys with couples, with individuals, and very rarely do I see somebody that I can actually relate to. So my hope is that there's at least one person that I can reach.
Hopefully that's you.
Who might be able to relate to me. So I'm on a personal finance journey to get out of debt and rebuild my investment accounts and my savings account.
Okay, so she's very relatable in the sense that many of us Americans, all up through the boomer generation down through younger Gen Z, we're all dealing with a financial pinch of some sort right now. It could be just the pinch of having to keep up with bills, taxes, those obligations we all have. Or, as she's about to go down, it could be a pinch that is created by poor decisions, which come from a not so frugal or financially sound mindset. So pay attention in this next section as she talks about how she got into the situation, because even though you may not be in the exact same situation as her, you'll probably be able to get some kind of related mindset or some thought patterns that are like, I may have thought close to that. And if I don't want to end up like her, I'm going to really keep paying attention.
How I got here. I was in a relationship for 10 years with a partner who was very comfortable financially. And
So she was dating somebody that had a good amount of money.
in the beginning, everything was separate and I paid for my own stuff and I was more careful with my money. But as time went on and we started to combine everything, I didn't honestly have to care about budgeting or money or anything. Spending was allowed and encouraged. I did have my own job.
So that's another thing there. She's talking about financial literacy. She pretty much grew up financially illiterate, or at least in her adult livelihood that she's talking about. She wasn't that financially literate. Many of us are not. And it's not just people who are poor, in poverty, that are financially illiterate. As she's going to go on to talk about, she had a very good paying job. And she sounds like she's at least in the upper portion of the middle class part of America. You can see from where she lives, the clothes she has on, that kind of stuff. And like I was just talking about, it doesn't matter if you're at the top of the food chain or the bottom. Financial illiteracy hits everyone, or not everyone, but a large number of us. And we may not understand how credit works, where our taxes come from and how we have to routinely pay them, how interest accrues and what that is, how to save money, savings accounts, all that stuff can be foreign to many people. I have not been the most financially literate person. I'm learning, as many of us currently are. What she is going through is thankfully not something I personally have gone through, but I definitely have had some moments very close to what she's about to discuss. So financial literacy is something that you have to be proactive about. We're not just going to get taught it in grade school, high school, college, whenever. Many of us, myself included, we learn from the school of hard knocks. We make some poor decisions, we deal with the consequences, and ideally we stop making those poor decisions because the consequences change our behaviors. But many of us, again, myself included, get into a bit of an issue and we get out of it. And rather than preventing it, we are like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And it gets worse and worse and worse, as she's about to discuss.
But I was making about $110,000 to $20,000 a year.
So like I said, she's making six figures, good money, but because you're making good money doesn't mean you're always making good money decisions.
And I am ashamed to say, aside from what went into my 401k, I couldn't tell you where any of that money went. It mostly went to beauty products, clothing, and shoes. And I paid for the groceries in the house, but he pretty much carried everything else.
So that's an issue that can happen when you have this single income setup where even though both she and her former partner were working, he was the one footing many of the bills other than groceries, which she pointed out that she handled. And because she never really felt the impact of those obligations and responsibilities, she spent super freely. She says she was almost encouraged to spend. And the stuff she was spending on wasn't things that gain value, that hold value, that create more wealth. In fact, they're things that do quite the opposite. And she'll get into the reasons why she was doing that in a little bit. But pay attention to the fact that just because she was a six-figure earner, she was not making great decisions, and all the money in the world didn't help her.
So for years and years, I just kept spending more and more money. So that was the only benefit, honestly, to this relationship. So after 10 years,
she's about to clean that up, what she just said.
Here. It wasn't the only benefit. We actually did have a really good relationship for a decent amount of time.
That's good. She cleared that up.
And benefits. He was a lovely man, is a lovely man, and very kind and generous. But there were also some major issues that made me leave
and walk away.
That makes me wonder, was she really in it because she liked the guy, or was the financial security and the lifestyle what she was more about? Spending 10 years with someone is, she's about 40. So a quarter of her life was with this person, and they made her life wonderful, but it sounds like they weren't everything that they were cracked up to be. And she didn't mention that they got married. So they were dating for 10 years. That's a long time to be in an uncommitted relationship. But hey, it worked for her until it didn't. So here's another thing. She left a relationship where she now no longer has somebody footing many of her bills. Okay, cool. She's now going to have to be a responsible adult. And like a responsible adult, she gets a new job. But this isn't one that is guaranteed income. She's doing real estate, selling property. And yes, she's going to describe that she has a cushion, but if what you're doing doesn't generate income on a regular basis, that cushion, while it's big at first, becomes very small very quickly.
Savings of about $80,000, and I knew it would take a long time to get going in real estate, but I underestimated the amount of effort and time it would take. And I never stopped my spending. I never cut back. So I still kind of spent like I had that money coming in and had that money to spend, and I didn't.
That is huge. Her lifestyle changed, but her spending habits did not. And I can raise my hand and say that I've been guilty of that before. I've been let go from a position working in a warehouse years ago, and that was great. I mean, it was necessary. I had to get out of it. It wasn't the job for me, but it was guaranteed monthly income, great benefits, retirement, all that stuff. So when I got let go, that means the money stopped coming in. But my dumbass thought, oh, I won't be out of work for too long. I got like 3 months of back pay coming to me, so I'll be good. It'll be like a mini summer vacation. By the time it's over, I'll have new income coming. So did I alter my spending habits? Not really. I got let go on I think it was a Wednesday. By Friday, I decided, my girlfriend at the time and we should go to Vegas and just let loose because, I got no responsibilities for now. And that was a fun trip. It didn't drain my money at all, but that kind of mindset is what slowly trickled into a worse financial situation because I wasn't treating things like I was being very serious. I was being very wants oriented rather than needs oriented. I wanted to enjoy myself. I wanted to still do things that kept life joyful since I wasn't really working like I wanted to. So that sucks. So I need to make myself feel good. So by spending money in a way that didn't alter my perception of my reality, I felt kind of good, even though I knew at the back end I was paying for it.
I just kept thinking in my head stupidly that it will all work out. It's all going to be fine. And my sister used to ask me all the time, don't you have a budget? Don't you care? And I'm like, it's all going to work out. It's going to be totally fine.
Exactly how I thought.
It wasn't fine. So I didn't have a job during my real estate time, and I had a rent of $2,500. And
Sheesh.
I had a spending problem. So I did cut back a little bit because I had so much clothing and shoes and everything from that relationship that I didn't need a lot. But it was just little things that I would buy, like eyeshadow and lipstick and a pair of shoes here and there and a coat here and there.
That's funny that she points out how it's not big purchases that screwed her over. It's not like she was buying a new car or expensive jewelry or going on expensive trips, but the little things would slowly eat away at her resources and make her feel a little bit better about her situation. But in the end, she was screwing herself over. It's the self-sabotage. Deviating away from just finances, it's the same thing I hear clients and friends do when it comes to their health. They eat little bits here and there, little snacks here and there, and they don't realize it till a number of months or years later. They're like, I'm in a totally different body and I don't like it. How did that happen? They don't recognize that it's not them eating these big whole meals all the time that cause them to gain weight and get unhealthy. It's all the small things that added up. And so when your finances change, you have to change your spending habits. When your life starts to go a little haywire, you cannot act like other aspects of it are not. Like if you lose your job, you cannot cover up that loss by celebrating to make yourself feel good. You actually have to alter other aspects of your life so you can get on track. It's not about just making yourself feel good to help ignore the big problem. You actually have to resolve the problem, and then you will actually feel good.
And these things add up when you don't have an income coming in. So as time went on, I kept spending more. I ended up draining my savings. And I didn't want to give up real estate because I loved it. And I was like, I just need to make this work. At some point, I will start making money and I will refill it.
I can empathize with that mindset so damn much. especially as someone that works not just in fitness, but in the online fitness space. Trying to get going is slow. Regardless of in-person or online training, it is slow, and you can get caught up in that mindset of, I just got to keep going at it, keep going at it. It will pay off. I don't need to change what I'm doing. I just need to stay stubborn in my efforts and it will work. And it probably will work, but it also will probably take a lot longer than you want it to. And as I pointed out earlier, if you haven't changed your spending habits, if you haven't changed the way you run your life, as long as you're struggling to make things happen, you're going to continue to move backwards, even though you're trying to move your life forwards. So for her, potentially changing her spending habits should have happened, or at least getting some kind of low income earning, but guaranteed low income earning job on top of the real estate. That would have potentially put a Band-Aid on the large gaping wound that was her spending habits, but she obviously didn't. So let's continue listening to her story.
So I started draining my 401k.
Ooh.
And that went really fast. I stupidly drained it 3 times. So I paid.
Damn. So she basically stole from the future her in order to satisfy the present her's wants and some of her needs. Not a smart move, girl. Not a smart move. And unfortunately, going back to me getting let go, that's something I did in a ways. I had the option to keep my retirement going through that company, and they would continue doing the low-level investing, and it would grow, and eventually I could have a retirement from there, like a small piece of one. Or I could cash it out, pay some taxes on it, and have the money. I obviously went for the second option, and that helped finance part of the Vegas trip and give me a little bit of a nest egg. So yeah, I was just as stupid as she was. So I'm not judging her. I'm just being like, pass the cheaty, not smart. Glad you've learned your lesson. I hope she has too.
Taxes, I think 3 different times, if I'm not mistaken. And I still kept thinking it was going to be fine, and I didn't see a problem.
That's delusion.
With it. So finally, last year, I decided to leave real estate because I can't deal with it. I had a mental breakdown. I was literally crying about 10 times a day.
Ooh.
And I said, I need to get a job. So I got
Smart
a job.
call.
And to back up a little bit, when I was with my ex, I was still working. So I was in marketing. I did a lot of media ad buying, like Google ads, Microsoft ads. So
So she was working.
I wanted to stay in the real estate industry. And the real estate industry and marketing, they don't pay a lot.
Nope.
So I took a job as a very entry-level job as a marketing coordinator at $65,000 a year.
65K is well above the national average, which I think is just around 50K. So she's over that, and she's doing an entry-level job. So this is a good thing. Whenever your finances are down low, rather than waiting for a big windfall or just hoping that your big plan works out, find something, do something, get some money coming in rather than just splurging money and only thing that's happening is money going out.
And honestly, I still kept spending. Like I cut back a decent amount, but
not enough.
I wasn't careful. And I thought I was being careful, but I didn't realize it until I started budgeting that I wasn't careful at all. So fast forward.
Let me go back and just touch on how what she's describing about how she was bringing in money, but she wasn't really tracking where it went, still screwed her over. In health and fitness, one thing I try to advocate for my clients and people who are trying to change their body do is track your food intake, your water intake, and your activity. Many of us don't realize how little we move, how much we eat, and how many calories come from the beverages we drink. And once you start to put numbers together on all 3 of those, you start to paint a picture of what the hell's going on, and you can accurately make decisions off of it. Now, in doing that comes a little bit of an ego check. You have to come to terms with the honest fact that you're eating very unhealthy compared to your goals. You're not moving as effectively as you should be, and it's time to make a change. That's it. But unfortunately, our ego puts a judgment on that, so having to face the facts for many is even harder than doing the work. And the longer that they hide from doing the work when it comes to their finances or their health, the worse things get.
This is how I discovered personal finance, saving, and why I should care, and why I'm down this journey and rabbit hole of like saving everything, because I've done a complete 360.
This is a big pet peeve of mine. People incorrectly say, I did a complete 360 when they're talking about an action they used to do and now they no longer do it, or an action they didn't do and now they are doing it. If you pull a 360, that is a circle. You start here, that's 360. You're right back where you started, meaning she didn't change. She's doing the same dumb shit she was doing before. The correct saying is I pulled a 180. That means you're doing one thing and boop, you flipped it and now you're no longer doing it. That's it. You don't do a 360 where you go full circle and come right back to doing the same dumb shit. Let's hear what she did.
3 months ago, I did not actually fully know what I was spending. So I went through my bank account and I wrote down everything, and come to find out,
I'm glad that she finally bit the bullet and tracked. This is a hard moment for many, and even for when I've had to track my own spending, getting over the hurdle of logging into your bank and looking at it is the hardest step. I found that whenever I would create this anxiety around that, the reality was never as bad as the anxiety I created. Yes, it sucked to see, but it almost never was as bad as what I had created in my head. And once I stopped creating that anxiety around it, I was able to solve the problems a lot more easily. And now currently looking at my finances doesn't create that same level of anxiety. There's still some there, but it is, instead of being a 9 out of 10, it's like a 1 or a 2. So that's progress.
was spending, I think, more on my wants than on my fixed costs. And my fixed costs were high. So this is not a good thing. I was basically just spending a lot of money, even though I thought I was being better. Like a few months ago, I had cut back because I'm in this mode now where I don't.
This is also something I see in the fitness space where clients will look at what they're currently doing and be like, okay, I need to make a change. And they decide to make a change, but the change they decide on is the least painful one and often the least impactful. And that can be a double-edged sword. It's a good thing to start low and then continue up from there. And you'll eventually get to doing harder things, which produce better results, and you've changed your life. But if you get stuck staying at that low level of doing whatever it is that you think is going to be the solution, you don't get much results. And as you do that low level solution and you get low level results, time passes and you're like, this wasn't even worth it. So you go back to your old habits. Or you do it and it's too easy to forget. And then you slowly start regressing to your bad habits. So you cannot stay at that entry level point of behavior change. Yes, you want to start low, but you need to push yourself to do beyond that level. Otherwise, you're not going to get yourself out of that hole. It's like paying the minimum on a credit card or a loan, and you're actually barely scratching the surface of the amount you borrowed. You're really just barely keeping up with the interest. So the problem is still there and slowly getting worse if you forget.
A lot of things in clutter. And it's been overwhelming to me. So I'm trying to stop, but it's these little things that compound on top of each other. And whether it's extra spending at the grocery store or going out to eat too often, anything, the things add up.
Exactly. The small things add up. If you're only willing to sacrifice what's easy to sacrifice, you're potentially not going to make that much headway, and you're going to still be making poor decisions here and there. And those here and there decisions are going to keep filling your bucket of problems.
So I did my budget and I said, holy crap, I need to do something about this. And this is where I am today. I have created a budget for myself. And I'm using the YNAB app. It stands for You Need a Budget, I think.
This is good. She is resolving the problem by getting on a plan. She's not just going to shoot from the hip and try to cut back here and there where it feels the least amount of stress for her to do. She's going to stick to a budget that will have her making better sacrifices to more of the debt resolved.
And so far, I used the app once, didn't get it. It was super confusing, deleted it, and then re-uploaded it. And so far I've been using it and I think it's been spectacular. It's been a godsend. It is incredibly helpful, but I'm still struggling a lot. And
this is also where using an app without any kind of direction from someone who has done it before and been successful is a bit of a drop off. So what I'm saying is, yes, you can use an app to work on your fitness, your finances, your whatever, but it always helps to have access to a mentor, a coach, a guide, a sponsor, somebody who has done what you're trying to do before so they can literally walk you through it. You're going to encounter all sorts of speed bumps and roadblocks that you both know of and do not know of. And it's the ones you do not know of that you need the most help with. And even the ones that you do know, your strategy might not be the best for getting you out of there. And an app will not always tell you that. An app will not always understand the other factors that are contributing to your life that need to be managed. Working with an actual human will help you mitigate that, because that human has insight. They have intuition. They can see things in the big picture and be like, hey, I can foresee that what you're about to take on is probably going to blow up in your face or not give you the results you want, and here's why. And they can show you all those data points and give you a better plan of action. An app will simply say, if you do A, you will get B. And it will not take into account parts C, D, E, F, G, and all those other things that are going on, which will make doing A to get B a lot harder, if not impossible.
these are my struggles. This is why I felt like it was really hard to find somebody that I could relate to.
Let's pay attention to this part, because this is where she explains why it was hard for her to really relate to these other people going through financial struggles. It is rather superficial, even though she tries to explain it in a deeper way.
I also belong to a lot of Reddit groups, and I watch like a lot of other different YouTube channels on this as of recently. And the reason why I feel like it's been hard to find somebody that I can relate to is because I suffer from body dysmorphic disorder, which is I don't know a ton about it, which is sad because I suffer from it, but it is a form of obsessive compulsive disorder, but you are obsessive about your appearance. And so to be totally blunt, my excessive buying with makeup, with clothing, with shoes, with hair, with spray tanning is all due to low self-esteem. And that's a way to make me feel prettier.
Doesn't sound quite as bad, but it's really low self-esteem, trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to impress other people. We all fall prey to this. Men and women alike, old, young, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. We often think we have to match up to this impossibly high standard, and we will do whatever it takes to get as close to it as we can. And it often comes at a big price of our sanity, our health, our finances, our relationships, all sorts of things. So it is this low self-esteem, this need to impress others, this I want to be known as the guy or the gal, that messes a lot of us up.
Better about myself and worthy. And the reason why I say I feel like I can't relate to a lot of people that I've seen, and maybe they just haven't expressed this on the video, is that they don't, the women especially that I've heard, don't especially seem to care so much about aesthetic. Or
basically, and I'm only laughing about this because she says it in a very PC way, is the women that are on these pieces of content she's watching, they don't look pretty. They don't take care of themselves. Sometimes the guys don't either, but she's really focusing on the women. And because they didn't have that same obsession with their image and what they wear and their makeup and all that stuff, she couldn't see herself in them. And that's unfortunate because she was them. For myself, I haven't shared this yet, but I'm going to share it right now. I'm an alcoholic. I got nearly 6 years of sobriety thanks to the AA program. And when I first went into AA, most everybody in there didn't look like me. Yeah, there were a couple black people in there, but they were old. They were just out of shape. I believe they weren't the most financially set people, i.e. they looked broke. And it was hard for me to find any connection to them. But the longer I stayed in those rooms, the more connection I found, because the surface aside, I was just as bad as the man or woman that's been living in a box on Skid Row that is drinking all day, every day just to shut the voices up in their head that tell them that they suck at life. So it's unfortunate she initially wasn't able to find anyone that represented her, but over time, the more she watched, I would imagine the more she found connection to the stories beyond just the superficial. And I mean, I can be guilty of it too. Like I said, in AA, I didn't listen at first. And even when people come to me with advice on either finances or other things that I may be about, initially part of me is like, oh, you're not doing life like I am. What do you know? But getting over that has been so helpful because I will find a lot of value, a lot of insight, a lot of advice from people that look nothing like me, whose lives are not exactly the same as mine, but they have similar struggles, they have similar problems, and they have solutions that make sense to me. So I put the exterior aside and I go where the value is for the problems that I have.
Appearance, like it's fine to not, purchase clothing for a few years or like not get your hair done. And this is a problem of mine, I know, but this is incredibly important. And it's like,
Editing out here, when I say that these things are important, what I mean to say is that these things are important to me, and not because I think that everybody should, dress well or whatever, take care of yourself or whatever, however you want.
It's good right here. She's basically pointing out the same thing I was pointing out, where the people didn't look or do life like her, so she didn't find their issues relevant.
Ugly take over my mind and feeling, which makes me feel undervalued and extreme low self-esteem, and it makes it difficult to concentrate and honestly go through life. So when I see women, or anyone for that matter, who can go all natural, I'm quite jealous of them because I feel
nice backhanded compliment too. She's really jealous that they can just raw dog life and she has to get all pretty.
It takes over my mind, and I'm yearning to find somebody else who feels the way I do, who spends and does this out of insecurity. Because
a lot of people, ma'am, a lot of people.
If you don't suffer from this, or you don't rely on these things to make you feel better about yourself, then I would assume that cutting back on them would be much easier.
She's partially right on that yes, the advice given from someone who doesn't give two craps about their aesthetic wouldn't be too helpful or relevant to her. But I also do have to say that the direct advice may not be that helpful, but the understanding of mindset and some of the framework behind those decisions is the same. I don't have the same issues as someone who has an overeating disorder. I don't find it hard to say no to food, and it's very easy for me to move around a bunch. But when it comes to drinking alcohol, me and that person that overeat are pretty much the same. When that overeater feels joy, sadness, anxiety, stress, etc., they eat. When I used to feel joy, sadness, stress, anxiety, I would drink. So our advice on our direct issues isn't the same, but the mindset BS that we both have is. And so that is why sometimes you can find help in the most unrecognizable of sources, that diving beneath the surface and understanding where somebody is coming from gives you a whole better understanding for them. And you can really connect with people that look absolutely nothing like you, whose lives don't look like yours. But at the end of the day, y'all in the same struggle.
Just cut it out. You just stop spending at Sephora or Nordstrom or wherever. But I feel like it takes me down a rabbit hole that if I stop with Botox or makeup or spray tan, that I won't be pretty enough and I won't be worthy enough, and then my partner will not love me as much. And so these are the battles that I'm struggling with. So
I get that. I totally get that.
These are my goals moving forward. And on this channel, I'm going to track what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, the progress I'm making. If I have setbacks, hopefully there's no setbacks.
I like that she has this game plan going, and I will keep up with this. She does have some other videos on her channel, so make sure to comment if you want me to keep putting out videos related to this woman and her story.
But this is my goal. I currently have, I had a $3,500 credit card debt, which I just paid off last week.
Congratulations.
$17,000 tax bill from when I was a real estate agent because you're a 1099 and you don't pay taxes.
That's definitely very true. I'm self-employed, and the transition from being a W-2 employee to a self-employed 1099 is not easy. Whew. Taxes are something that many of us don't get taught till it's too late. And I'm caught up on my taxes now, but dang, them taxes add up. Going to H&R Block and finding out that I had to pay Uncle Sam $18,000 that I did not just have a couple years ago was not fun. Having to pony up almost 30 grand, a little more than 30 grand last year for taxes, had the money, is still not fun because dang, I love making more money, but at the same time, Uncle Sam takes so much more out of it. So even though those of us that are in situations where we're able to make more money is a good thing, you have to account for your taxes and you should be saving for your retirement, your future, all that stuff.
I had money set aside for taxes, but I kept spending and I spent it. So I owe $17,000 to the government. My goal is to pay that off. I just opened a Roth IRA. I haven't purchased the stock yet. I need to research that.
You should really, and this is for her, she should really just focus on getting that tax debt done and over with because the interest on that is just going to keep growing the longer that value of tax is there. Yes, I know she wants to save for her future with a Roth IRA, something that I have, but get those high interest debts done first. You want to clear out your debts first before you start investing and saving. Because if you're starting to invest and save while you have some debts hanging over you, that's kind of backwards, and eventually you're going to have to re-dip into your retirement, because she's done that before, in order to pay those debts, and the cycle continues.
My goal is to increase my 401k percentage. Right now I was contributing 2%. I just looked this up yesterday. I need to up that. I'm going to try to max it out. I need to do the math. I'll come back on here and say what that is.
You don't need to max that out just yet. You need to max out getting yourself out of debt first. That's something that I've picked up from a bunch of these financial channels.
And then my goal is to increase my income from where I'm at now, which is I have 2 side hustles and a full-time job. My full-time job pays me $85,000.
She makes good money.
One little side thing, which is $400 a month. It's not that much, but
more than zero.
Car payment. And then I have another side thing, which is $1,750 a month. So this takes me up to about $110 a month. No, I'm sorry, I wish. $110 a year.
So this woman is looking to up her income. Great. She should do that. That'll get her back to her previous income of like $110 a year when she was with Super Spender Man. But I still believe she should work on getting her debts down before she starts investing in her retirement. She can still put that 2% away because that's a small amount, but no more than that. Like really work on getting that debt out the way, the tax debt, the credit card debt. Those sorts of things will just ravage your finances even if you are making the minimum payments on them. So it's great she wants to up her income. It's great she's lowering her spending, but she really needs to address the debt first, because even though she might not be buying the makeup and stuff, those small things all the time, it's the big monthly interest on the taxes on the credit cards or whatever she has that is really doing more damage than a few lip glosses and other bits of makeup.
My goal is to get my salary to $200,000 a year.
Very lofty goal.
Mid 2025.
And a short time frame.
It would be beginning of 2025, but at least mid 2025. And then my other goal is to start maxing out my 401k, my Roth IRA, and then I'd like to get my savings to $100,000.
These are some big time goals. 200K annual income, maxed out Roth IRA, maxed out retirement savings, and 100K in the bank as savings. If she wants all that by mid next year, I really, really hope she's got some other jobs and she's cut back on that spending tremendously, because all of those goals are possible, but not in a short time frame and not all at once.
And this is my goal. And I just want to say one last thing is that I have a lot of shame and anxiety around.
I have had that too.
In fact, nobody in my life, not even my partner, nobody knows that I maxed out my 401k when I was in real estate to
They know now.
make ends meet. I have a lot of shame around it, and
As you should.
and especially like draining my savings too. I have a ton of shame around this.
Shame
So
produces change.
one person and exposing it, I'm literally telling the whole world. Because I also feel like I'm not alone.
She's not alone. Like I've touched on a few times in this video, I've had my own share of financial woes that I've learned from, and now I no longer have them. She seems to be on that same path right now. She took a big leap by not telling anybody. She told everybody by producing this video, and that gives her some accountability because now she can be checked on all these plans she's put out, all these commitments. So it's a good thing to not keep things hidden, but actually to express what you are doing, what's going on, so you get community. From community comes accountability, and from accountability comes consistency, and from consistency come the results you want.
I think there's a lot of other people out there, and you know, you just have to learn and get through it. I can't change it. I can only move forward. So here we are. Until next time. See ya.
So that was a good telling video. She was very open and candid about the situation she had going into it, how she was very financially illiterate, how her spending was the root cause of it all. And the reason for her spending was low self-esteem. She used body dysmorphia to describe it, but it's really low self-esteem, trying to keep up with the Joneses and maintain an unrealistic image. Whenever she was looking at videos to get help, she didn't see people that looked like her, so that was an initial barrier to paying attention. But once she found a source she could trust and spoke to her, she started making changes. Small at first, stumbling through them, but it sounds like she has a committed pathway to the life she wants. She wants to increase her savings, increase her income, decrease her spending to a level that will have her maxing out at life. So I really do hope that she sticks to it, and I will go through some of her other videos. Just comment below if you want to see that. If you made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to watch other bits of content I put out. And as you see popping up, there's some more videos on my page for you to check out, to enjoy, and I'll see you on the next one.